My sister tried to destroy my marriage and steal my life. Think it's just drama? No, it was real hell, where every dinner was a battle. But this time, I was ready. What happened next, no one saw coming. My name is Emma. I'm 26, and until recently, I thought my life was running smoothly, almost like something out of a lighthearted sitcom. You know, the kind where the main character faces little quirks and challenges, but everything always ends up back to normal. I had a regular job that kept me busy but not overwhelmed, a solid group of friends, and a loving husband, Aiden, who fit the perfect partner mold in so many ways. I guess you could say things were predictable, and I liked that. But life has a funny way of shaking things up when you least expect it. And for me, that disruption came in the form of my older sister, Lily. Lily's always been the golden girl of our family. You know the type. Successful in her career, effortlessly charming, always the center of attention. Everyone loved her, admired her. Growing up, she was the one people talked about at family gatherings, the one whose achievements were plastered all over social media. I was used to being in her shadow, playing the role of the quieter, more grounded sister. But despite the obvious comparisons, Lily and I had always been close, or so I thought. That all started to unravel the moment I got married to Aiden. He's one of those guys who walks into a room and just captures everyone's attention without even trying. He's tall, with a disarming smile and a sense of humor that could make the grumpiest person crack a smile. His sarcasm was legendary, and it was one of the things that first drew me to him. So, naturally, at family dinners, he'd always be the life of the table, tossing out witty comments while we all laughed. But one particular evening, things felt off. Our parents were hosting one of their usual dinners, the kind where everyone sits around talking about mundane things like work or the latest political drama. Aiden and I had our usual seats, and everything seemed fine at first. Then I noticed Lily. She was sitting directly across from Aiden, and the way she was looking at him, it wasn't just casual. It was lingering. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe I was reading into it too much. After all, it was just Lily, my sister. But it didn't stop there. Lily started laughing at every joke Aiden made. Not just the usual chuckles, but full-on laughter like he was delivering the best stand-up routine in town. And let me tell you, I'd heard these jokes 1,000 times at home. They weren't that funny. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe Lily was just in a particularly good mood that night, enjoying the lightheartedness. But then she did something that made me freeze in place. She winked at him. Not a playful, teasing wink like sisters sometimes do with each other's partners, but a deliberate, slow wink meant to send a message. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There I was, in the middle of a conversation about mashed potatoes, and suddenly it dawned on me that my own sister was flirting with my husband, and doing it right in front of me, in front of our parents, no less. And here's the kicker. No one seemed to notice. It was like I was the only one aware of this bizarre dynamic unfolding in real time. Things escalated when Lily's voice started changing. It became softer, almost seductive. Aiden, have you ever thought about doing some modeling? You've got the looks for it. Modeling? Seriously? I mean, I knew Lily could be dramatic, but this was taking it to a whole new level. The compliment was so forced, so out of place, that I couldn't help but feel embarrassed for her. And Aiden? He just sat there with this goofy grin on his face, like he had no idea what was happening. He probably thought Lily was just being friendly, but I knew better. I knew my sister too well. Aiden's not the type to stray. I knew that much. But the fact that Lily was brazenly trying to catch his attention, to lure him in, right in front of our parents, was mind-blowing. It was as if she had decided, in some twisted way, that she could take over this part of my life too, the one part where I'd always felt secure. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't just innocent sibling banter. Lily had set her sights on Aiden, and she wasn't going to stop until she had disrupted everything. I didn't know how far she was planning to go or how much this would affect my marriage, but one thing was certain. That night was just the beginning of something much more complicated than I'd ever imagined. After that fateful dinner where Lily decided to turn family time into her personal flirtation fest with my husband, things took a very bizarre turn. It didn't just stop at that one evening. Oh no, that would have been too easy. Instead, she started dropping by the house more often, and every visit came with some innocent, flimsy excuse. "Oh, I was just passing through the neighborhood, so I thought I'd pop in." Or my personal favorite, "I was thinking about your salad recipe, Emma, and I just had to come ask for it in person." Since when does Lily, who once thought boiling water was too much of a culinary effort, care about recipes? And let's be real, she wasn't here for the food. Aiden, to his credit, tried to keep everything on the level. He was polite, as he always was, trying to act like nothing was out of the ordinary. "Emma, she's just here to chat," he'd say, brushing it off with a smile. But I could see the tension bubbling beneath the surface. It wasn't just me. Even he seemed uncomfortable, though he didn't want to admit it. And who could blame him? It's not every day your sister-in-law tries to turn a casual visit into a scene out of some cringy romantic comedy. The atmosphere in our house started to change every time she showed up. It felt like the very air vibrated with an odd kind of tension. Lily would sit just a little too close to Aiden on the couch, her laughter at his half-baked jokes way too enthusiastic. There was something so over the top about the way she interacted with him, like she wanted me to notice, as if she were performing for an invisible audience. Her body language screamed, "Look at me! I could steal him from you any time I wanted." And that smugness? It started to piss me off. As the visits became more frequent, I found myself on edge whenever Lily was around. She began giving Aiden these looks, hungry, lingering gazes that made my skin crawl. It was as if she was eyeing him like he was the last slice of pizza at a party, and she was just waiting for the right moment to claim him. I tried to keep my cool, to rationalize it all. But one day, while making coffee in the kitchen, something happened that I couldn't shake. I heard their voices, soft and low, coming from the living room. They were whispering. My heart raced as I crept closer, straining to hear what was being said. But the moment I got within earshot, silence. Total, awkward silence. It was as if they both sensed I was approaching, and immediately clammed up. Aiden looked up at me with that same clueless expression. But Lily? She just sat there, smirking, like the cat that got the cream. My suspicions hit an all-time high in that instant. Something was up, and no one could convince me otherwise. You might think I'm overreacting, that it's all in my head. But I'm telling you, I wasn't imagining things. Every nerve in my body screamed that something was wrong, that this wasn't just innocent teasing or sibling rivalry gone too far. I started paying more attention, observing Lily's every move during her visits. And do you know what I noticed? The outfits. At first, she came over in her usual casual wear, jeans, sweaters, nothing fancy. But gradually, her wardrobe began to change. Suddenly, she was showing up in short dresses, low-cut tops, outfits that seemed designed to draw attention. "Oh, I'm just trying out a new style," she said when I finally called her out on it, acting like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, right. Since when did my sister, who used to swear by comfy loungewear, turn into a fashionista with a penchant for revealing clothes? It was so obvious what she was doing. And Aiden? He didn't seem to notice, or, more likely, pretended not to. Every time Lily showed up in those skimpy outfits, he'd act like it was completely normal, as if she hadn't transformed our home into a set for some trashy reality show. A show where the sister-in-law tries to seduce the husband, while the wife watches helplessly from the sidelines. It was ridiculous, and yet it was happening right in front of me. Each visit felt like a new level of insanity, a new chapter in this twisted game Lily was playing. And with every passing day, my patience grew thinner. My eyebrow would twitch involuntarily at the sight of her overly familiar gestures, her too loud laughter, the way she'd accidentally brush against Aiden as she walked by. And I wasn't imagining those moments of tension either. Every glance she gave him, every lingering touch on his arm, was like a neon sign screaming her intentions. It felt like she was trying to trap him, to make him fall for whatever game she was playing. And I could see it happening. I wasn't just a paranoid wife. I knew what I saw. And the worst part? I couldn't just sit there and let it happen. But what could I do? Aiden was my husband, and I trusted him. But Lily was pushing every boundary, testing every limit. And it was only a matter of time before something had to give. One evening, I came home earlier than usual, ready to just relax and forget about my crappy day at work. But the moment I walked into the living room, I immediately knew something was off. Lily and Aiden were sitting on the couch, and believe me, it was way too close for comfort between siblings-in-law. I looked at them, and I felt something boiling inside me. Aiden looked like he'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar, embarrassed, almost pale. And Lily? Oh, this lady was just sitting there with a smirk, like she'd just won the lottery. Her face said, "Well, sister, what are you going to do about it?" I stood in the doorway, and at that moment, I really wanted to throw something at the wall. Yeah, I was that pissed. "Hey, what's going on here?" The words burst out, and I didn't even try to hide the anger in my voice. The whole thing looked like they'd just been discussing something that definitely shouldn't have been discussed without me. Lily, without blinking, got up from the couch, adjusted her dress, yeah, the one with yet another deep neckline, and calmly said, "Emma, are you serious? You're so paranoid and jealous. We were just chatting." Oh, wow. My own sister was trying to make me look like the crazy one right in my own home, in front of my husband. She looked at me like I was the one with the problem. Seriously? Aiden just stood there frozen. You know that look. Help? I don't know what to do. He tried to explain himself, but his words were so weak that I just didn't want to hear them. "Emma, it's not what you think," he started, but his voice shook, and the sentence hung in the air like some dumb meme. The confidence he usually had when joking and teasing everyone around was suddenly gone. Honestly, at that moment, I felt like the ground was slipping out from under me. Not because I actually believed he'd go through with it, but because he, damn it, couldn't properly explain what was going on. With every word from Lily, I felt her arrogance creeping into my space. Seriously, are you trying to blame it all on me? On my turf? So there I stood, looking at both of them, one in shock, the other with that nasty calm, and realizing that my patience was on the verge. After that ridiculous couch scene, I realized one thing. Lily had truly decided to play the steal your sister's husband game. If before I tried to convince myself that it was all in my head, now it was clear. She was deliberately messing with my life. But you know what I decided? I wasn't going to throw a fit, have a meltdown, or smash dishes, no matter how much I wanted to. Nope, I was going to be smarter. My job at a law firm wasn't wasted. For years, I watched my colleagues gather evidence for the dirtiest divorces, financial fraud, and other life dramas. And you know what? This was the perfect chance to use my skills. So instead of putting on a show, I started gathering information. I became a full-on undercover agent, and it was pretty damn exciting. Every time Lily accidentally dropped by, I started my little game. You think I just sat there pretending everything was fine? Ha, not even close. I had a recorder hidden in the living room, a little toy that captured every conversation. Yep, I became that spy, and I even liked it. Lily and Aiden would chat, joke, like I was just a jealous wife while they were innocent. And I just sat there smiling, pretending I suspected nothing. The secret was, I knew everything. I recorded every one of her visits. Oh, you should have seen how carefully she picked out her outfits. Lily showed up at our house in dresses that made me think she was preparing not just for family gatherings, but for some romantic reality show. You know, like How to Ruin Someone's Marriage in 10 Easy Steps. And every attempt to flirt with Aiden was like a new level in my game. You should have seen her face when she said things like, "Aiden, you're so smart. How come you haven't become a boss yet?" She was practically hinting, "Hey, you could be with me. I'm the star." And I just sat there, sipping tea, thinking, yeah, Lily, keep talking. The more you say, the stronger my evidence gets. And step by step, I was setting up my revenge. You know that feeling when you're putting together a puzzle and every new piece fits perfectly? That's how I felt. Aiden was too naive to realize I was watching their every move. He thought I believed in their innocent conversations. And Lily? Oh, she got more and more relaxed, thinking her plan was working. But that's the irony. The more she tried, the closer I got to turning everything against her. A couple of weeks into my spy mission, I got a message that you could call pure luck. My phone buzzed, and on the screen appeared the name of an old acquaintance, one of Lily's colleagues. Honestly, I was surprised he even messaged me, but I opened it and nearly dropped my phone from excitement. Turns out, our golden girl had staged a little sabotage at work. She set it up so that another employee, some innocent guy, looked like a complete idiot, setting him up to fail on a project, all just to snag his position. And guess what? It was a gift straight from fate. I sat there thinking, well, Lily, you dug your own grave. Now watch as I bury it. Instead of sitting around, I fired up my laptop, reviewed everything that kind colleague sent me, and sent an anonymous email to her company's management. Picture this. You've been working on your sneaky plan for weeks, and then bam, it all crumbles with one click of a mouse. The feeling was absolutely magical. That very day, Lily, acting like nothing had happened, showed up at our place. She walked in with a face like she had the whole world under control, like she was the star of the show, and I was just an extra. Her look was confident, but something in her movements gave away her anxiety. She seemed jittery, nervous, but of course, tried to hide it. She made small talk with Aiden, while I sat nearby, just waiting for the moment. And then, that moment came. Her phone rang. She quickly pulled it from her bag, looked at the screen, and her face turned as serious as if she'd just received a court summons. "Oh, I need to take this," she muttered, and walked into the hallway. I already knew who it was. Of course, it was the office calling. While Lily stepped out to talk, I just sipped my tea and relished the situation. In my head, a sarcastic monologue played on repeat. "So, Lily, did your brilliant plan fall apart? What's it like when your life crumbles right before your eyes?" Aiden sat across from me, clueless, still believing everything happening around him was just a normal day. When Lily came back into the room, she was pale as a ghost. She tried to act like everything was fine, but her nervous smile and trembling hands gave her away completely. I just winked at her, as if to say, "Don't worry, sis, this is just the beginning." When Lily stepped into the hallway and started talking on the phone, I already knew that conversation wasn't about, "How's your day been?" Her face turned white as a sheet, her eyes widened, and her voice shook like she was about to faint. A few seconds later, she abruptly hung up and practically ran into the kitchen. Panic oozed from her every move. She was pacing like a trapped mouse, and honestly, it was quite the show. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching this performance. Inside, I was screaming, "Yes, darling, you just officially lost your golden job." My inner sarcastic voice added, "So, how does it feel when your career crashes just as fast as your attempts to flirt with someone else's husband?" It was too good to be true. Lily had lost her job, and I knew this was only the beginning of her downfall. But While it was fun to watch her crash, I had more important things to do. I went to Aiden. Honestly, I was on the verge of laying everything out on the table, and the moment had come. The room was dead silent, and I sat across from him with a folder of evidence in hand. He looked at me like he had no idea what was about to happen. I pulled out the recorder and said, "We need to talk." I played the recordings where Lily flirted with him, saying all kinds of nonsense to get his attention. Aiden looked at the recorder, then at me, then back at the recorder, and his face grew paler with each second. He was in shock. That moment when his brain finally started to realize what had been going on all along. Lily had been manipulating him, using him, and he hadn't even noticed. "Emma," he started, his voice trembling. I could see he was genuinely sorry, but I needed to hear more. I didn't know what she was doing. I thought it was just..." He couldn't find the words. "Of course, you didn't know, Aiden. You just sat there playing dumb while your golden snake tried to strike." "I realized Lily was manipulating me," he continued, lowering his head. "And I'm sorry." His guilty eyes met mine. Inside, I was still angry. But I knew, in the end, he was just caught in her web. "I forgive you, Aiden," I said, taking a deep breath. "But remember this. This is your last chance. One more time, and I won't be so kind." He nodded, understanding the seriousness of the moment. After Lily lost her job, her life began to crumble like a house of cards built on lies and manipulation. Jobless, reputation shattered, and most importantly, without any chance to explain herself, she found herself in total isolation. I sat and watched as the person who always basked in the spotlight literally faded away. It was like watching a star set, but instead of a bright light, all that was left was the dim glow of her past glory. Lily, of course, didn't give up right away. No, she tried to rebuild her career, as if she could just erase everything from everyone's memory. She called, sent out resumes, met with former colleagues, trying to convince them that she was still the same successful Lily they used to know. But here's the catch. Rumors of her scheming spread faster than you could say goodbye career. Every attempt she made to get back in the game was met with cold stares and polite refusals. Well, as they say, karma isn't just a buzzword, it's the real deal. She tried to hold on, but as soon as anyone found out about her past, conversations quickly dried up. Picture this. Lily, who was always on top, who could make anyone believe in her innocence, now having to sit back and watch as her world collapsed, and no one was coming to save her. As for her attempts to patch things up with Aiden, well, that was just pathetic. After I showed him all the evidence, Aiden finally saw how Lily had been playing him like a puppet. He started avoiding her like the plague. She called, texted, even tried to drop by like old times, but his response was always the same. Silence and a closed door. Lily tried her hardest to squeeze one more chance at a conversation out of him, but it was all in vain. You see, when you've lost, you can't just turn the clock back. And me? I just sat back and enjoyed the show. I watched as Lily, who always held her head high above everyone else, now had to swallow the dust of her own mistakes. Inside, there was something like a little victory dance going on. It was like savoring every moment of her fall from that very pedestal she used to sit on, looking down at everyone else. Now she had to realize that she wasn't the golden girl she thought she was. In the end, it all boiled down to one simple lesson. If you play dirty, be prepared for a hard fall. Several months passed, and Lily completely disappeared from our lives. She vanished as if she had never been there at all. She tried to make excuses, naively thinking she could play the victim card one last time, but this time the trick didn't work. The truth about how she tried to ruin my marriage came out faster than she could say. It's not what you think. When our parents found out that their golden girl had tried to steal her own sister's husband, their reaction was priceless. I'd even say that the look on their faces was worth writing a book about. Shock, disappointment, and that subtle realization that Lily wasn't the saint they always believed her to be. Of course, she cried to them, saying things like, "You've got it all wrong," and "It was a mistake." But after everything I told and showed them, even our parents, who always wanted to keep peace in the family, couldn't justify her actions. So Lily didn't just lose her job. Her bright career collapsed like a house of cards. She also lost her family. None of us wanted to have anything to do with her anymore. She tried to rebuild relationships with our cousins and distant relatives, but her attempts failed there too. Anyone who tried to stay in touch with her eventually learned the truth and turned away. She didn't have any friends left either. Everyone who had once been around her slowly dropped off one by one. After all, what's the point of staying friends with someone who, it turns out, is willing to step on others to get what she wants? Now she lives alone in her little apartment. No job, no friends, no family, just her own thoughts, and I'm sure they're far from pleasant. Remember how she always believed her life would be perfect because she was born under a lucky star? Well, looks like that star has fallen. Without support and without a future, she now looks at life from a completely different perspective. Not from above, but, let's say, from rock bottom. And me? I finally feel at peace. It's as if all the chaos she brought into my life has finally dissolved. It was that moment of realization when you know that justice does exist. My golden sister got what she deserved, and it feels damn good.